Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. Wait, my laptop sounds like it's going to fly off, so let me try to mute it somehow. I hope my microphone is not catching this because, it genuinely sounds like a helicopter. If you hear this, I apologize. She's been overheating like crazy because these new programs that I'm using to uh, record and edit are a bit too heavy for it. So, yeah, but it's okay. So far it's been doing the job. Guys, I just want you to know I'm approaching today's episode with an extreme level of sleep deprivation and extreme chaos in my mind because I've been racking my brain for 5 days trying to figure out what is it that I want to talk about because I could have easily just continued the good vibes from last week and talked about advertising and whatnot. But I genuinely didn't feel like it because I'm exhausted from academia. Before I say anything further, guys, I am now writing my thesis, and for that reason, I'm conducting a short survey. I need 350 respondents. Please, I am begging you, if you have the opportunity, if you have the motivation, everything is voluntary. There's nothing mandatory here. I won't be mad. There's no way for me to know whether you fill it out or not. Please, if you have the time, if you have the desire to help me with my thesis, I will link the survey in the description. Feel free to fill it out. It shouldn't take that long. It's literally a 7 minute survey. You're going to be provided with like a short hypothetical scenario and then a few questions about it. And if you filled it out, I would be super duper appreciative, and you would have no idea how much you would have helped me because how am I supposed to collect 350 respondents? Are like my supervisors, is my university okay? Because do they actually think I know and actively talk to at any stage of my life to more than 10 to 15 people and not at the same time? If 10 to 15 people talk to me every single day, which is why maybe I'm not the perfect person for customer service and like fast food, I would go mental. I would genuinely go mental. So please feel free to share with friends. Share with family, friends, partners, uh siblings, people you know, people you don't know, people you like, people you don't like. Just as long as they're over the age of 18, you're eligible to fill out the survey. I will link the English version and the Bulgarian version if there's any Bulgarians listening to this and would like to help me out. It would be super helpful. But without further ado, so I genuinely don't know what I want to talk about today. I thought about talking about how advertising affects our behavior, but then I was like, do I really want to? And the answer was no. And that's just because, like, I'm not in a mental state where I could be talking about advertising now. Yeah, I'm in a weird mood today. Also, elephant in the room, I don't know if it's visible. I have a cross on my forehead. Okay, here's our topic. For the first half maybe of the episode. See, the thing is I also cannot make it like too long of an episode because we have guests coming over cuz okay, take a breath, step by step, one by one, zoom out. Why do I have a cross on my forehead? So, this week, the week when I'm uploading this, the day when I'm uploading this, is Orthodox Easter. Now, I will discuss this. Please, by no means is this me trying to impose my religion, my traditions on you. I have a very complex, I would say, relationship with religion because I am Christian. I have been like christened. Is that the verb? I don't know when it comes to, because like it's not baptism, because like I don't think Orthodox people do baptism, but like maybe it's baptism, I don't know. I have some sort of a faith, but I'm not religious in the sense that I don't go to church. I don't like pray multiple times a day. And I'm not saying that there's anything bad if you do this. This is just not how I practice my religion. And also in school, I studied a bit of like religion, which was very interesting. But yes, so I will be talking about the Bulgarian Orthodox practice of Easter. If this is not how you practice Easter, if you don't celebrate Easter, I'm sorry. Maybe you will find this interesting. Maybe because that's the thing though. Like I feel like no matter whether we, because like for example, I don't practice religion the way like the church teaches you to practice religion, but I still am interested to learn more about religions, cultures, practices, traditions, beliefs, and so on and so forth. Because I just think that because this aspect, this spiritual aspect of our lives has been put on such a pedestal, and it's so, if not defining, at least guiding to who we are as people and how we practice our lives. I think it's just very interesting to learn because it adds a lot of context, adds a lot of layer, and I'm just like very interested to learn about new cultures. So the day I'm uploading this is going to be Easter. So for those of you celebrating, for those of you who are Orthodox, celebrating Easter, Christos Voskresek, Christ has risen. And basically, so I have a cross on my forehead because I was up until like an hour ago dyeing eggs with my family. Now the thing is, this Easter, I feel like it's a little bit more special than the Easters I have experienced the past few years because I have never gone home for Easter ever since I moved to the Netherlands. The Netherlands is a predominantly Catholic country, so even though last year the Orthodox and the Catholic Easter coincided, no, it wasn't last year, it was the year before that, they coincided. Um, Normally, the Catholic Easter, I assume it's also the Protestant, but I'm not exactly sure, um, are earlier than the Orthodox Easter. And that's why the Easter holiday is earlier than is what's my Easter holiday. So it doesn't really make sense for me to come here just for Palm Sunday and just, yeah, let it be. So I've always been for Easter in the Netherlands ever since I moved there. And I have tried to bring my Bulgarian roots and Bulgarian traditions to that celebration. But it is nice to be practicing now those traditions in my own home, in my own country. It is really nice. And it feels so weird because, like, I've been, like, I have Orthodox friends in the Netherlands, but, like, none of us are, like, hyper religious. I feel like just nowadays there is, like, a bit of an erosion of religion, like the way it was practiced. And, like, we do still get together to have lunch or have dinner or like just do something, but it's not necessarily with a religious undertone. I would say it's just more like a get together, which is what Easter is for me. Wow, my hair looks like the kuzunak I'm trying to make. um so basically, my forehead is red because I have a red cross on my forehead because we were dyeing eggs. And in Bulgarian Orthodox tradition, you're supposed to dye your hard boiled eggs either on the Thursday, which is when Christ was like put on a cross or on the Saturday before Easter. And today we did it on the Saturday before Easter. And I feel like this can give you a perspective of how I sometimes procrastinate podcasting until the very last moment. And yes, sometimes I have recorded episodes on the Sunday of me uploading them because, like, sometimes I just genuinely postpone it as much as possible, hoping that I will get a topic to talk about, and that just never happens. And I'm like, let's just grab it like this and figure out what is it that I'm going to talk about. And basically, the first egg is always supposed to be red, and it's supposed to be red to symbolize the blood of Christ. And as you take it out of the dye, and in my family, we normally use artificial dyes. I feel like it's going to be quite cool to experiment with natural pigments like red cabbage or like red beets and spirulina and stuff like these. I feel like that's going to be quite cool, but like we've never done it. I feel like it's just because of convenience and speed and efficiency and whatever. And as you take out the red egg from the dye, you draw a cross, well, like this, on the forehead of people and also on their cheeks, and it's to wish them health. Um, and it just feels so nice to be dyeing eggs because, like, I mean, I have been dyeing eggs when I'm in the Netherlands and it's Easter. But the thing is, so I don't know if you've ever been in the Netherlands. I don't know if you've ever been there around a certain bigger holiday, but they like to prepare in advance. And basically, so over Christmas, I came here to Bulgaria to celebrate with my family, celebrate Christmas and New Year's. And I went to the Netherlands. I mean, it did took 3 days this time around because, like, if you've not listened to that episode, do listen to it as the first episode I uploaded this year. You will understand why it took me 3 days to travel to the Netherlands. And also, a quick update, I received an email last week, even though I sent this claim in January, telling me, yeah, there was nothing we can do, so we won't compensate you at all, which I expected it, but it was still disappointing to figure out, but whatever. So basically, I went, like, if you leave for Christmas and you go back to the Netherlands on, like, during the first week of January, you will already start seeing Easter merchandise being put out. Like, I mean, like stuff for dyeing eggs and chocolates and yada yada yada. And basically, it's crazy to me because, like, Jesus was just born, although, like, Jesus is not born on Christmas. He was like a summer baby, but whatever. Um, like, he was just born, and 2 weeks later, you're already putting out the merchandise which commemorates his death and coming back to life. It's interesting. It's quite interesting. And you would imagine that, like, so basically, the first year I went there and I was getting ready for Easter, I am quite cheap. If I can get something with a discount, I will. And I was thinking, oh, I'm just not going to get my supplies during the preparation for Catholic Easter because it's now full price. I'll just get it the Monday after Catholic Easter, which is going to be the week of my Orthodox Easter, so that I can get it, like, with a discount. And that was a shitty way for me to figure out that despite them prepping months in advance, at least in my city, Dutch people, just the second the holiday passes, they get rid of all the merchandise. And, like, I could not find anything Easter related anywhere. And I had to make do with dye. Basically, I bought this dye that you use for decoration of cakes and whatnot. And the thing is, that type of dye you're supposed to put in a dough or like a whipped cream, and it's going to add a bit of a tint, not even like a vibrant color. But I put it in water, and then I went to dye my eggs. and obviously my eggs were just swimming in like faintly dyed water that did not stick in any way, shape, or form to the shell of the egg. So that was a bit shitty to figure out. And then I had to just draw on them with pens. Um, and ever since then, I've learned my lesson. And because I have had the privilege of being here in Bulgaria for my birthday every year since I moved to the Netherlands, and like Easter has been always in April or early May the last few years because like it changes depending on the lunar calendar. Um I just buy dye from Bulgaria because I'm like I cannot risk it because basically the dyes I have bought for eggs in the Netherlands were missing the red color. And at least in my culture, the red color is the most important color because, like I mentioned, the first egg is supposed to be red to symbolize the blood of Christ. And that is the egg you actually are supposed to save and put in front of like what is the thing called, like the image of a saint, like that thing. um there you're supposed to put it there, like as a thing to honor Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ, or you're supposed to bury it in your yard so that it's protected from hail. Yeah, that's the thing though, like, and the eggs actually in traditional Bulgarian way, even though like in my family we don't do it like this, are collected the week before that, on the Saturday before Palm Sunday, which is called Wazagov Den, so like Saint Lazarus Day. And basically, um young women who are not married are supposed to wear traditional Bulgarian clothing, which is called nusia. And every single region has a different nusia, which is like decorated, like the details are specific to that region and the history of that region, and like what animals or crops are to be found in that region, and yada yada yada. And basically women wear those nusi, and they sing songs, and they just go like from house to house to collect eggs from the neighbors to then dye them the week after, during like, well, on Thursday, but nowadays it's also acceptable to do it on Saturday. I have never been like, I've never participated in that ritual. It's called Wazaguvane, and the women who partake in it are called Wazarki or Wazarka. That is like the singular, and Wazarki is the plural. Why am I teaching you the Bulgarian language? I don't know. But yeah, the it's so like women collect this and then we dye them, and yeah, on Sunday. So, like, I know that in Western European Catholic countries, they don't necessarily have this thing, this practice that we do here. Because, like, in Western Europe, they, for example, hide the eggs in their yard, or if they don't have a yard, somewhere in their house, for the children to collect. Whereas here, we don't do that. We don't do like an egg hunt. We actually, like, the eggs are just displayed in your house, like on your table, and you grab an egg the morning of Easter. You greet each other with like a special greeting. You say Christos Voskrese, which means Christ has risen, and you reply with Voistino Voskrese, which means he indeed has risen, or like truly has risen. And the mind you, the saying, like the greetings are not with modern Bulgarian, they are with like old Bulgarian. So I that's the thing though. I The reason I find such things so incredibly fascinating, and I feel like bringing them up here, is because Bulgaria is such an old country. A few days ago, I was in another town in Bulgaria, like doing some stuff. And when I was waiting for this one thing, I went to visit this fortress. This fortress dates back to the 4th century. Well, between the 1st and the 4th century. And then, like, modern Bulgaria was founded in the 7th century. And yes, there are like a few centuries when Bulgaria as an independent country did not exist on the map because it was occupied by the Ottoman Empire. But like the traditions, the spirit of Bulgaria remained. And the Magdanici, which I talked to you about like almost a month and a half ago, they date back to that 7th century. This was a Guvane, or like I mean, obviously it's like a Christian holiday, so it dates back to like the origin of Christianity and whatnot. Um, but I find it so sad that Bulgaria is one of the oldest countries, and like the oldest in Europe. Well, here it's like the oldest town, like city in is in Bulgaria. It's called Plovdiv. And basically, this is a country with so much history, so much tradition, and it's so rich and so interesting. And yes, obviously to me it's interesting because I come from this culture, I come from this country, and I find it so disheartening that Bulgaria, but just in general, Eastern Europe, and specifically the Balkans, are so incredibly overlooked. And they're perceived as this regressive Europe, as this anti modern, outdated type of culture and people, whereas we're not. And we're very much civilized. And it's very sad to see, because like the reason they're overlooked is because they're not very rich countries. And because they're not rich, the only reason the people would look at them from like an economic perspective is for cheap labor. But there is so much Eastern Europe has to offer. And I am not ashamed from the fact that I'm Eastern European. It is something I actually pride myself in. And obviously, I didn't choose my geographical location when I was born or whatever. But feel like ever since I moved to the Netherlands, I kind of have made it, I don't want to say mission, because I'm not necessarily that patriotic, but I feel like I became quite patriotic ever since I moved to the Netherlands. And I was taking for granted Bulgaria and its traditions and its beliefs and its people and its everything. But now I'm so appreciative of it. And that's why I bring up certain stuff over here, because like there's people watching the podcast who have never been to Bulgaria, have never met Bulgarians, have never interested themselves in learning about Bulgaria. And I don't blame you as an individual for not knowing about my culture, because I may not know about your culture. I also feel like it's a lot about educational systems, because, like, for example, obviously the Bulgarian educational system focuses on Bulgaria and we make note of Eastern Europe, but because like the West is the West, we also study Western European and just Western history and geography. And we do a very comprehensive, and I'm not saying that the West is like comprehensive of the world. We actually study like geography and history per continent. um but yeah, I just feel like because we're from this part of the world, obviously we don't overlook it when it comes to its history. But I've noticed that like in my experience, Western Europeans are not necessarily taught much about the Eastern European part of the continent. And I'll never forget when I first went to the Netherlands and I was living in this place with 8 people, and half of us were Eastern European. I was the only Bulgarian, everyone else was Romanian. But like, I don't care what you say, Bulgarians and Romanians, we're like this. I know that when we're in our home countries, we're like a bit more oppositional, but like in reality, we're the same people, just different font. That I feel like can be said about every single Balkan country, to be honest. Um, and I was talking to this one person who was from Italy, and they told me, yeah, to be honest, like I've never thought about Eastern Europe. I don't care about Eastern Europe because to me, as like the Eastern, the most East I would think when it comes to Europe is Germany. And now I don't know if you're familiar with the map of Europe, but Germany is everything but Eastern. And that is almost as west as the continent goes. So it is very sad that this region of the world is so overlooked when it's so incredibly rich in history and the cultures. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't like come on here and like criticize publicly my culture, although I so would. I so would. But like, we are people's people, and I love being from this part of the world. I love having my traditions, despite me, like, for example, not being a practicing Christian in terms of like going to church and like praying multiple times a day or a fasting during Easter. I love and pride myself in being Eastern European, in being Balkan, in being Bulgarian. And I was talking recently to this person who's from Greece. And wait, my hair like genuinely looks terrible. And I was talking to this person who's from Greece, and I was like, yeah, so we're Balkan and like, we're Eastern European. Because like, Bulgarian neighbors, Greece, and Bulgaria, geographically looking, is Eastern European, is just Southeastern European, but we're very much Eastern European, and so is Greece. And that person was like, no, we're not Eastern European. And then I was so taken aback by this, because, like, I find it so fascinating how Greece managed to rebrand itself to people. And people forget that Greece is Eastern Europe simply because of Santorini, and people just perceive it as like this Mediterranean country, which sure, but like that's not like what is typically meant by, like, you know what I mean. That is still very much Eastern Europe, and that is still very much a Balkan country. And I thought about this, and it's like I cannot blame this girl for trying to distance herself from the Balkan nomination and the Eastern European nomination because of the stereotypes that surround us. And the stereotypes that surround us are the topic to which I devoted my bachelor thesis. And I find it so disheartening how Balkan and Eastern European people were perceived as this regressive savages that just simply do not deserve the European title and are anti modern and just would not fit in the Western European, aka European status quo, and would actually disrupt it. And I find this sad because, like, we are not savages. And you don't really comprehend how little people think of you until you go and experience it firsthand, and you see how you're such an afterthought. But the second you're brought into cognition, there's not much good to be said about you because of stereotypes that are like about people stealing and people being uneducated, and it's like it's very sad. And while there's obviously people in the Balkans in Eastern Europe, but also everywhere who are uneducated or steal, I feel like like a stereotype is obviously just a generalization, but it's very disheartening when someone already has a prejudice when they hear where you're from, and they take that prejudice in their approach to you and their communication with you. And it's sad. It's sad. um and I find it in myself also. Like, I know I say I'm not ashamed to say I'm Bulgarian, I'm very proudly Bulgarian, but like when I speak in English, I notice that obviously the way I talk is the way I talk. I don't put on an accent, I don't put on a performance. But the second someone tells me, well, I mean, if someone tells me you have an accent, they most likely are going to guess I have a Russian accent, not a Bulgarian one. But I do get a little bit offended, which I wonder where that's, I mean, like, up until now, I've been naming reasons of where this might stem from, but why am I scared, or like, not scared, but like insulted a little bit when someone tells me, oh, yeah, you have an Eastern European accent? When I should, in fact, be proud of my accent, because me having an accent in different languages, you know what a signal of? The fact that I speak a different language. And not everyone speaks two languages or more. And the fact that I'm able to communicate in two languages fluently and manage to do so in like another two is something I should be proud of. And I should be taking my accent as like a badge of honor rather than something to hide. Even though, like, I'm not hiding my accent, this is just the way I talk. But like, the second someone tells me you have an Eastern European accent, I get like, oh, whoa, 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 calm down, calm down. So I wonder, is there like a smidge of internalized racism that I feel towards myself? Maybe. Maybe. I've never thought about this, but I feel like that's something that's going to be interesting to think more about, because like obviously I spend all my days thinking and like existential crisis, so might as well add another layer to my identity crisis, you know? Um but yeah, Easter. Now actually wait, let me go and check on my kuzunak and I'll explain what kuzunak is in a second. Oh my god, you have no idea how good they're turning out. I'm making two kuzunaks. Kuzunak sounds so weird. Kuzunak is basically this I know it's the same word in Romanian for the Romanians listening. It's a type of traditional bread that is sweet. Like mainly it's traditionally it's made with Turkish delight and raisins, but now I've made, because I don't like those, I've made mine with pistachio paste and with chocolate, and I feel like that's going to look and be so good. And it's like the type of bread, because like Eastern Europeans, Balkans love their bread. Like we love making bread for everything. We have a specific type of bread for every single celebration and every single ceremony. So bread is like the food when it comes to any type of holiday. Um so I've taken it upon myself to make the family kuzunak this year, and like the pressure is quite high, but I feel like it's going to be bussin', because like hello, like the way it looks, I'll try to take a picture and like post one on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Dirty Martini Pod. But anyways, enough ranting about like cultures and yada yada yada. Guys, I feel such incredible FOMO because of Coachella. And the thing is, I don't even care about Coachella. To me, Coachella is something that is so 2016 and like so like my life as Ava coded. And like I was obsessed with my life as Ava. I wonder what she's up to. I know she got engaged. Ava Gutowski, I hope you're doing well, girl. Like you raised me. You raised me on the internet. Um, and also that one guy that I don't remember the name of, but like he would overexpose his face on an orange. I don't know what his name was, but like I used to watch him a lot. I wonder what I used to comprehend back then because I wasn't really like fluent in English. I mean, I feel like it's a bit cocky to claim that I'm fluent in English, but like, I'm able to communicate now properly in English. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So this is what like Vanessa Hudgens is Coachella for me. Kendall Jenner is Coachella for me. Tana Mongeau is Coachella for me. And the only reason I feel FOMO is because of the lineup. I mean, obviously, you're going to a festival for the lineup, um, but Sabrina Carpenter, Justin Bieber, Carol G, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Why am I not there? Guys, after you fill out my survey, make sure to share this episode and every other episode of this podcast because in 2020, I should have danced on TikTok instead of fighting depression, and I'm paying the price for it now. So let's all together communally try to make that happen because I grew up loving Justin Bieber. Like loving, like you don't get it. Like I loved him. And when we would have like art class in school, I would draw like Justin Bieber themed stuff. I would do choreography to his songs. Uh I made my own merch and the fact that he's performing there today because I'm filming this on Saturday. That should be me. That should be me there. That should be me. And if there's any of you going there and seeing him, may God protect you from my jealousy. Because, oh my God, am I jealous? And I feel very bad that I unfollowed him on Instagram, but I unfollowed him on Instagram because he put a sort of an insect on his profile picture a few years ago that I didn't like. And I unfollowed him solely because of the profile picture because I didn't like this thing popping up on my feed. So Justin, even though I don't follow you on Instagram, you're the OG. You're Justin Bieber. But yeah, anyways, what else? Oh my god, guys. There were people uh up in space. I mean, like my sister just told me that like ever since the 2000s there's always been someone on like the international space station, meaning that like since the 2000s there's like not in a single point of time have all people been on Earth. Um but like I'm talking about Artemis 2. I have to admit I didn't follow it too closely, which is a shame because I love space stuff. And when I was studying physics in school, the space chapters were my favorite one because me and physics, we're not best friends. Okay, like I am quite thankful that, like, even though I don't agree that the grading system in Bulgaria should be subjective, it very much is. And when I went to high school, I made sure to make a good first impression to my physics teacher, who was also my chemistry teacher. And I did find chemistry very, very interesting. But like sometimes I was just like, Diva, I don't know what we were talking about. So I made a great impression on her, and she really liked me. And she never once examined me in front of the whole class, which was like a regular practice. Like you would be called to the whiteboard to write like certain equations, to calculate certain stuff, to explain certain stuff, like do an oral examination. Never once did it. Just the second she saw that it's me, like, because like you have to get a certain amount of grades per block so that you can graduate from that block and move on to the next one. The second she saw it was me, she would just like write a 6. And our grading system was from 2 to 6, which makes zero sense. I am very much aware of this. 6 is the highest, 2 is the lowest. You could get 1 like as a grade if they catch you cheating, but like that's very, very rare. So she would just write a 6 and be like, okay, and then let's examine someone else. Why did I start saying this? Oh, yeah, Artemis 2. I think it's so incredibly cool. And I feel like humanity should be spending its time on science and developing stuff and exploring stuff and learning more about our existence rather than spend humanity's time, energy, money on war. Hot take. Hot take, I know. I know. But like, God forbid a girl is opposed to war. In the 21st century, mind you. I I don't know what to say about this, man. So Artemis 2, like from everything I have heard, it sounds like this is such a feat for humanity, and this is the farthest people have traveled in like outside of Earth. And I think it's so cool and so fascinating, and all the pictures. Make sure to look up the pictures. Look breathtaking. And one of the craters of the moon was named after one of the astronauts' late wife, and he didn't know that it was going to be named after her. And what a beautiful sentiment and what a beautiful reminder of humanity in such times, political and economic and like just political, that make you feel like humanity is eroding. That was a really nice reminder that actually it is not, and there is a higher purpose than land and money and power. um but yeah, and from what I gathered, they arrived safely back on Earth, and that is just so amazing. And every single thing my sister would mention to me about Artemis 2 would make me think of Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary. I will try to be as quick as possible, but like, man, does that movie deserve an episode of itself. And I thought about creating one, but then I was like, oh, but like, I'll just like veer off too much. Project Hail Mary, it's still in the cinemas. If you need to get yourself out of the house, if you've not been to the cinema in a long time, go and see Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary, you know how Harry Styles a few years ago, when he was talking about some movie that he was um like acting in with Florence Pugh. I don't remember the name of the movie. I didn't see it. Doesn't matter. He was talking about the movie and was like, my favorite thing about the movie is that it feels like a movie. And we all collectively made fun of him because like, what the fuck do you mean like a movie feels like a movie? What else is it supposed to feel like? I would like to officially apologize to Mr. Harry Styles because Project Hail Mary is a movie that feels like a movie. This is cinema, and we hardly ever get cinema. This was art created for the sake of art. This was art. This was a production created, sure, with financial reasons, but it didn't feel commercial. This movie was one of the best movies I have ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not saying this as someone who is fascinated by space. I'm not saying this as someone who is taken aback by Interstellar and saw some parallels with Project Hail Mary. I have not read the book. I was looking for the book in my local library. It's been landed. Obviously, like every single time, like a movie or a series based on a book is gaining popularity, the local library is just like trying to navigate how to make the book available to every single person because they have just that many copies. Um, Basically, I went to see that movie a few weeks ago. Literally, I went to see the week it came out. I feel like I went on a premiere or like the day after the premiere. Beautiful. If you have the chance to see it in IMAX, watch it on IMAX. This is like how it was meant to be watched. I don't think I watched it on IMAX because I don't think my local cinema has IMAX. Doesn't matter. It starts a little bit slow. At first, because I was exhausted. This was after an exam. I was a little bit drunk because like I went out with a friend for a drink beforehand, and I had not slept. I had had an exam. I had not eaten anything, and one beer that was 8%. I was done. Um, so I was like fighting demons, trying not to fall asleep for the first 30 minutes. And after that, I was glued to the screen and did not want it to end. This is one of the most aesthetically pleasing, visually satisfying movies ever created. And the fact that there was not a single green screen used in the production of the whole movie is something that is mind boggling to me. And the fact that Rocky, the alien which befriends Ryan Gosling's character Grace, um, was not CGI, but was an actual puppet operated by 5 people at all times. This is what I mean by its art. And this is human art. This is not AI. I'm sure maybe they used AI in some parts of this. I don't know. I don't want to throw any claims out there, actually, considering that they said that they've not used any green screens. This is creativity at its finest. This is movie making at its peak. And it is always Ryan fucking Gosling who breaks my heart into billions of pieces. Because like I I know I'm an empathetic person. I know I when I walk by a table and I kick it with my foot, I always apologize. Those people had me cry over a literal rock for 2 hours. I was trying so hard to hold back the audible cry because like visually like here from my eyes like just rivers, oceans going down my face. But I was trying so hard not to cry audibly and gasp, and like it was so difficult because this is a movie. See, the thing is, they touched on so many topics that at a certain point you're like, what is this movie about? And I have to say, the use of Harry Styles' Sign of the Times is one of the best, if not the best, integration of a song in a movie, period. I had never thought of this song in that way, and the fact that they used it as a signifying um melody for the end of the world, potential end of the world, and like the hope of saving it, I I don't think I'll ever be able to listen to that song the same way again. And it was just mesmerizing. And the second like they show the thing, I've forgotten the name already, but like the particles that were ruining the sun and like eating, like killing the sun, and then like Ryan Gosling went into space and like it went all pink, covered in those particles. I i was taken aback, and I had full body chills. What I find extremely, so the thing is, Grace portrays himself and claims to not be brave. And that is why he doesn't want to go to the mission. Because, I mean, spoiler alert, he ends up going to the mission. And that is because, like, the people who were supposed to go on the mission were killed in a fire. And he goes there but unwillingly. They kidnap him, like they drug him and they put him in the rocket. And like we can talk about the morality of this and like the nuance of it all. Because like, is it like this whole dilemma of like the train dilemma where like, do you divert the train to go and kill one person or five people, and like how do you make that choice? um but he claims to not be brave, but I feel like Grace is a very brave person. He just on earth did not have anyone to be brave for. And the second he befriended Rocky, the second they fist each other's bump, the second they gave each other this, he uncovered this bravery, this readiness to sacrifice yourself and your life for someone you love, and to do everything you can to help the one you love, the one you respect, your friend, your family. So Grace is very much brave, despite at first not wanting to go to space. And I feel like I don't, my faith in humanity has been eroding. So I don't know how I feel about humanity knowing about the existence of Rocky and his planet. And I just hope they never find it, because, like, I feel like people, that's the thing. When Grace went to Rocky's planet, they built him a home, and he integrated so well, and he was a part of a community, and he was not tested upon. Whereas if a Rocky were to come to Earth, immediately he would be tested, and he would not be welcomed the way Grace was welcomed. He would be put in a zoo. He would be, like I mentioned, tested in a laboratory, whether he wanted to be or not. And I feel like this is like just a very complex story about, it makes you think about humanity's practices. And it's, I feel like it's such an interesting thought that they, like, Rocky and like his fellow, I forgot the name of the planet, I'm sorry, but like his fellow Rockies um fixed the rocket ship of Grace and were like, you can travel if you want to. And he consciously made the choice to say, and I feel like this is just a symbolism of how there's nothing on earth he misses. There's no one on earth he misses, because it is only there in this new world that he feels accepted, that he feels like he belongs, and he feels like a part of a community, and he feels brave, and he feels like something more than an exploited or like a failed scientist. And that is just so interesting. And like, It's a movie about friendship, about humanity, about bravery. It's a beautiful production. And it's a movie about an unlikely friendship that can turn your life upside down and give meaning to it. And how sometimes leaving may not be necessarily sad, but it's necessary in order to, on the one hand, help that place to sustain itself. And on the other, it's necessary because, like, sometimes you just have to leave the place where you don't belong. I don't know, it's such a layered movie, and I loved it. And I recommend it with two hands. That movie was so, what a, that movie, like, just watch it. And I just think the acting was phenomenal. Ryan Gosling is always a showstopper, and he's everything he thinks he is and more, because, like, to me, that man is just so incredibly talented and so incredibly charismatic and so well spoken. And from what I've gathered, he stands up for the correct things, though I'm not super aware of his, I mean, political views, but, like, should I have said this? I don't know. But, like, like, he doesn't hate women, and, like, I know the bar is in hell. Um, but yeah, I'm just, that movie deserves all the recognition it gets and more. And if you have the chance, you definitely should go and watch it. And if you have the chance, go and watch it in the cinema. This is the type of movies that are worth it to be seen in the cinema, because watching it at home on your television or on your laptop is not going to do it justice. This is cinema. And I feel like cinema this year, yet again, is on a generational run. And Project Hail Mary is definitely a movie that's going to linger. It's a movie that's going to stick. And I feel like this is a movie that's going to inspire. But with that being said, I need to go and help the guest preparation going. I hope you enjoyed this quite messy, chaotic, and quite plotless episode. I wish to those of you who are celebrating Easter, happy Easter. To those of you who are not celebrating Easter, like, happy day. Please go and fill out my questionnaire, my survey, send it with friends, family, strangers, people you love, people you hate. Just get it around, because I really, like I mentioned, I need 350 respondents, and that's just, like, a bit outside of my capabilities. Um I will promise to try. I won't promise to do, but I'll promise to try and figure out more of a structure for next week's episode. But until then, I want to thank you all so much for watching this one, for listening to this one. To those of you who are not watching, because, like, to the Apple podcast listeners, I'm hosting my podcast on Riverside, and Riverside is not supporting video on Apple Podcasts. They're saying it's coming soon. So the second it video is available on Apple Podcasts, I would love to talk with you face to face. But until then, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye.